How's it going, everyone? The Trout91 here for another Call of Duty World War II video. This time, we're going to be doing a follow-up video to the video I made last Sunday where I talked about my initial impressions, and this is going to be kind of a follow-up to that video to kind of revisit some of the things I said and see whether I feel like my impressions changed or whether there's anything else I need to add to it, because obviously there's only so much of the game I had played with the time that I had available. I played quite a bit on the Thursday, I played a fair bit on the Friday, I played a little bit of work on the Saturday, and I didn't touch it again until today, where I've been playing it this morning for a couple of hours with the new update. Obviously, if you didn't know, there is a second weekend of the beta. It was closed during midweek. Now it's available for Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and I've been playing on PlayStation 4 again. And there have been a few changes to the beta. I wouldn't say there's anything majorly different about it as far as the gameplay is concerned. It was just adding in a new map, a few new weapons, and then I think a tinker or two somewhere here or there, as well as new score streaks, etc., etc. So I think let's talk about some of the new things that have come into the game. We'll kind of talk about how I feel about the game overall after that. So I think it's Aachen is the new map, or something like that, pronounced in a way that I'm not familiar with. It's an okay map. Like, if you look at the map fly-through, which is available on the Call of Duty YouTube channel, it looks a lot like Havana, which a couple people actually pointed out, and I was really excited for that. I thought, oh, good. A nice map where it's, you know, head-to-head action. There's maybe not so much opportunity to flank around, and people will really get some good engagements. It'll be a bit more tactical than some of the other maps where it's like 3 lanes and it's a bit of a cluster of all sorts of bits and bobs. And it played out very differently to what I was expecting. So I was a little bit disappointed. It kind of almost becomes a 3-laned map. Obviously, because you can't see it on the map fly-through, a lot of the buildings are the main points of the map, so a lot of the filter of traffic goes through the 2 lanes through the buildings, and they are very kind of linear in the way they work out, and there's not so much movement through the middle. It's kind of just an opportunity to cross between the two. I think the map fly-through actually makes it look very straightforward, and there's not much opportunity to get in the buildings, when actually the buildings are the main point of motion for players when they are playing it, which is I wasn't really a big fan of, and when I played it I wasn't too impressed with it. I played it a couple of times. A lot of people, it just gives people too many opportunities to sit still, and it makes it quite hard to actually flank around the map, because the main points in which you should be able to flank around through those buildings, the action is actually in that area. So you can try going through the middle of the map, which isn't going to work out massively well, because obviously you're in the open and everyone's going to absolutely dominate you. But I just found like so many people were sitting still behind head cover, and it made it very difficult to actually do anything for yourself or get anywhere in the map without being absolutely smashed to pieces. So I didn't really like the flow of the map. I think that if they just made a few changes in the hallways, maybe made it a bit easier to get around other teams, so that they don't have to just sit there and aim down one corridor, because it's basically the buildings end up being 2 long corridors which you can just have gunfights down. A lot of people were bringing out snipers on that and just posting up, and it got very, very boring. And I think that's kind of a main theme for a lot of the maps, is if they just had a small change in like adding a new corridor that doesn't have to be massively impactful, but it can just change the dynamic of the map and make it a little bit better for everyone involved. Or if they changed a few pathways just to kind of change what people are doing and make them think a little bit more about their actions, rather than getting away with something like sitting still and not really doing anything and succeeding from it. That's not really what we come to want in Call of Duty, is being able to get away with that kind of gameplay. And I think that in a lot of maps, even Point de Hoc, Aiden's Forest and Gibraltar, there are a few adjustments that I mentioned in the previous episode, or the previous video, which you haven't done, go back and watch it, where if you just changed a few things like removing turrets on the forest, it would make things a lot better. Even a pathway that connects from the middle to the ruins would help out massively. Gibraltar, maybe a path going from the middle of the map up towards the top side, just to help the top side get out their spawn a little bit easier, make the middle of the map a bit more populated than it already is. And then for the map that is Point de Hoc, I feel like they should increase the size in the middle of the map just to make it a bit more action-packed in that central hub, and give people a bit more of a risk when they are going over the top, and maybe make the action a bit more interesting around that area of the map, because right now it seems very dominated by going around the outside of this donut-shaped map. I would say the game's very addicting, and having new weapons is always very good, and new score streaks and a new map makes it very good. The M1A1, which you're seeing in the gameplay right now, I'm a big fan of. I think a lot of people were disappointed. I saw a few people moaning about it just because it's not as good as, obviously, the World at War one, but let's be honest, the World at War one was super, super OP, and there's no surprise it was OP, because when you had stuff like Juggernaut MP40 to contend with, you can understand why exactly it was so strong. I'm a big fan of it. I will recommend that if you are going to use it and you're not having the best of time with it, make sure you're on a good connection. You can probably tell pretty early on in the game whether you're having a good connection or not. It's very, very good when you are on a good connection. If you've got the aim, you've got the know-how. You've got to also bear in mind that you need to play to the playstyle that a semi-automatic rifle will play to, which is, you know, being a bit more passive, making sure you think before you act, keeping your distance between you and the submachine gunners. So if you are having trouble with it, there's a few tips for you to get along with it much better. I'm still not sure about the engine and netcoding. It's been better today, but I don't know if that's because I've been playing during the daytime and maybe against some of the worser players, but it just feels a bit better today. I still have those moments where I'm like, how has that worked out? He should have died. The netcoding, like, obviously the kill cam doesn't relate to what I've seen on my screen, which is still very frustrating, but that's been a work of Call of Duty for some time now. One thing I do think they need to adjust is the aim assist slowdown, which is basically when you're aiming onto someone, it slows down how much you can actually move your aim. And obviously you need it enabled, because that's very important when you are playing on console to have that small amount of aim assist. But it's very difficult when someone's running at you at full speed and they're strafing side to side and you can't turn your gun properly because your aim assist is locked onto where they used to be. That is a big problem at the moment. I hope they do fix it. I'm very excited for November. I'm really excited to see what maps we have in store other than these four. There's some new guns, hopefully, which will change the game. And I'm excited to see that. One thing I will say about the guns, I really hope they bring in guns that are a bit different, because at the moment I feel like a lot of the submachine guns especially, they're all very similar and they all kind of do the same job. And I think what we were having in Call of Duty recently, which is a very good thing, is the fact that each gun had its own purpose. Obviously, if it was like a burst fire gun, if it was semi-auto, if it was fully automatic, if it had a high rate of fire but low damage, I'd like to see a bit more variation in how the guns work, not necessarily, you know, just having lots of guns that are all doing the same job. Because I think in games like World at War, we had a lot of guns that pretty much all did similar jobs. I will say grenades are pissing me off a little bit. Shotguns are pissing me off a little bit, and snipers are pissing me off a bit. I think the snipers, their hitbox are very generous, and that can be toned down. I think the shotguns need to be toned down, because obviously if you've seen any videos about how incendiary ammo works, it basically turns into a sniper, and it's very, very obnoxious. Grenades, I don't think there's really any adjustment needed to them. They're just annoying. Constantly seem to be dying to them, but I think it's a good game. I'm very addicted to it. I'm enjoying playing it, and I'm going to be live streaming this stuff as much as I possibly can, or doing gameplays and videos of it as I can. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do drop a like rating. Let me know what you think of the game so far, whether you're just seeing it or you've actually played it. Drop a comment down below, and I'll see you very soon. Peace out.